everybody working here?
Oh, great. All right. And looks like we have a quorum. Is that right? All right. We will go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to this meeting of the Northern Middlesex Metropolitan Planning Organization. We can move on to the first item on our agenda, which is just, I can read the notice first perhaps, and then we can get started with introductions. So just read that. You're invited to participate in our transportation planning process, regardless of your race, color, national origin, including limited English proficiency, religion, creed, gender, ancestry, ethnicity, disability, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, veteran status, or background. So with that, we can move on to the first item, which is just welcome and introductions. Will you be reading the roll today, Kelly?
Is it Derek Cravat?
Yep, Derek Cravat here representing MassDOT Secretary and CEO Monica Tibbetts-Nutt.
Brian Fallon?
Brian Fallon can't make it today, but this is Tim Paris representing Highway Administrator Jonathan Gulliver.
Thank you. Jane Wellman?
Morning, good afternoon. I'm Jane. I am the NMMPO chair. Nice to see everyone.
Thank you. Pat Burgess? Here. Tom Bomo? I believe he said he's under the weather today, so he probably won't be here. Karen Pulio?
Here.
Thank you. And Wayne Janess?
Here.
Roll call.
All right, welcome everyone. Move on to the next item, which is opportunity for comments. Is there anyone present that would like to make a comment at this time?
Sorry, Derek, I do just want to acknowledge that we do have members of
Oh, yes.
UA and FTA here on the call as well, our ex officio members.
Yes.
And yeah, sorry, I can't see them because I'm also trying to share my screen.
No problem.
Joshua Barber here with Federal Highway Administration, Massachusetts Division.
And Kirsty Hostetter here with FTA Region 1.
Great, thank you both. All right, continuing on with public comments, is there anyone that would like to make a comment? All right, seeing none, if you do have any comments during the meeting, you can use the raise hand function in Zoom or type something into the chat and we'll be sure to call on you. Can move on to the next item, which is the approval of meeting minutes from the June 26th MPO meeting. We'll ask for a motion and second to approve these minutes, and please state your name for the record when making a motion.
So moved, Wayne Janess.
Second, Karen Pulio.
All right, thank you both. Motion having been made and seconded, are there any comments or questions on the minutes? All right, seeing none, go ahead and call the roll, Kelly.
Derek Cravat?
Yes.
Timothy Paris?
Yes.
What, Jane Wellman?
Yes,
Pat Burgess? Yeah. Karen Pulio?
Yes.
Wayne Janess?
Yes.
All approved.
All right, thanks everyone. We'll move on to the next item, which is Transportation Improvement Program status report. I'll turn it over to Tim.
All right. Just a few items this month. We've got two new projects that have made the list. 613, 729 Lowell School Street improvements at the Stocklosa Middle School. And that new project has been added. 613, 709 Lowell Concrete Pavement Rehabilitation on Route 133, similarly just recently added. We also have 612, 656, the Westford Bridge Preservation, 495 over Concord and Boston Road, which just had its completion date. Well, it's gone out for advertising and they've set the completion date of March of 2025. 612, 631 Chelmsford Bridge Replacement, Gorham Street over I-495. and replacement of Westford Street over 495. That has gone out and has been awarded. 609-250 Billerica intersection improvements of Boston Road, Lexington Street, Glad Valley Road. That has had some updated costs, slight changes up, well, slight depending on how you look at it, but nearly $1 million. 609-035 Westford rehabilitation of Boston Road, and that just has a new add date that was set. It was just moved back a week. And that's all we have for now.
All right. Thank you, Tim. Any questions for Tim? All right. Seeing none. I don't think I see anyone from District 3 on, but LRTA, Justin or Ali, any updates on your end you'd want to share?
Sure, I can share some. So we've got several projects we've been trying to finish up over the past month. As the state fiscal year ends, we're trying to get a lot of those facility improvement projects done. One of those being a kind of a big paving and drainage improvement project over at Hale Street, which should be completed in the next few weeks. There's also an ongoing Gallagher Terminal Garage project, which is happening right outside of this office, to improve a lot of seams in the garage, and it just needs to be should be wrapped up over the next month or so. The big project, the ABL APC project, that is nearing completion. All the buses are now equipped with the hardware and software, and currently we're learning how to pull that data off of there as a staff in the training, and so far we've heard some really good feedback from our customers on this new system, which is good. And the commuter rail access project, there's no real updates on that. We're still waiting to hear back from MBTA and CSX on their preferred design options for that project. And Ali, do you have anything else to add? I think that's pretty much it.
No, I think you covered it, Justin.
Okay, that's it.
All right. Thanks, Justin. Appreciate it. Any questions on any of the updates? All right. Now we can move on to the next item, which is Transportation Improvement Program Amendment number 4, where we're looking to endorse this amendment. So I will turn it over to staff. I think this one might be a transit amendment initial. Blake or others?
Sorry, I just had muted us.
Oh, no problem.
It's like there's some echo in the room.
Yeah, highway.
Are you, is everyone on Zoom okay to hear us, or is there a really bad echo?
Nope, we can hear.
I can hear you pretty well.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I'll just do a quick summary of tip amendment 4. So this was as presented last month. We had a public hearing on July 20, and there were no attendants at that meeting, so we don't have any public comments to share regarding tip amendment 4 for either the Rourke Bridge and Knoll or the Yankee Doodle Bike Path. So with that in mind, we did share with the MPO in advance a summary of the amendment, and at this point we're prepared to entertain a motion to endorse if the MPO is prepared to do so.
Missed it.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. Are there any questions on this amendment? All right. If not, I will ask for a motion and second to endorse this tip amendment as shown and presented.
So moved, Wayne Giles.
Second, Jane.
All right. Thank you both. Motion having been made and seconded, go ahead and call the roll, Kelly.
All right, we have Derek Cravat,
Yes.
Timothy Paris, Timothy Paris.
Coming off mute.
Thank you.
Gosh, sorry, yes.
Sorry, you're not ready.
Finding the mute button.
Okay. Jane Wellman,
Yes.
Cat Ortiz. Yes. Karen Julio.
Yes.
Thank you. Wayne Janess,
Yes.
all approved.
All right, thanks everyone. With that, we can move on to the next tip amendment, this time tip amendment number 5 with transit changes. Turn it back over to you, Kelly and staff.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Blake Acton. Just talk about this amendment for 1 minute. There are no significant changes or updates since our last time that when we released Amendment 5 for public comment. NMMPO held a public comment meeting on July 10th at 5:30 via Zoom. We had no attendees and we received no public comments at the meeting and also received no public comments during the 21-day public comment period. Just as a reminder of what this amendment was, there's 2 aspects to it. First aspect was LRTA was awarded a community transit grant to purchase 9 transit vehicles for paratransit and council on aging services. And the other part of the amendment was really a reallocation of sources of funds to purchase a fixed route hybrid electric bus utilizing state funds instead of federal funds. So not any changes to the number of buses or when the buses are being purchased. It's I guess we call more of an accounting change for that one. So this is Amendment 5 to endorse it with comments received. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Blake. Any questions on this amendment? If not, I will ask for a motion and second to endorse as presented.
So moved.
Second, Wayne Janess.
All right, thank you, Jane and Wayne. Go ahead and call the roll, Kelly.
Derek Cravat,
Yes.
Timothy Paris,
Yes.
Jane Wellman.
Yes.
Yes. Karen Julio,
Yes.
Wayne Janess,
Yes.
all approved.
All right, thank you all. We'll move on to next item, which is the Safe Streets and Roads for All Vision Zero vision for Greater Lowell. I'll turn it over to you, Jessica.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you, Derek. My name is Jessica Belanger. I'm the project manager for the Greater Lowell Vision Zero plan. Today is the 3.1 update. This is the final presentation for the Vision Zero plan for our region. It's titled Greater Lowell Vision Zero, our regional safety action plan that was funded by the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program. Today I will cover our public comments that we received as well as finish up with a request for endorsement. Next slide, please. On this slide, you will see a refresher on the purpose of the plan. So the purpose of this plan is to help support our community access future funding under the grant program. It is to maintain consistency with federal and state funding programs, to provide a strategic direction for the implementation of the action and our overall safety planning as an NPO. And the last item is this plan is a formal mechanism or a method for us to have a stated commitment to achieving Vision Zero or zero fatalities in our region by the year 2050. Next slide. Since the draft was originally released, there have been considerable changes to the formatting of the report. The consultant team at WSP identified a clerical error that was corrected, and it's found on page 96 of the report. This was related to the unit of measure for sidewalk installation. So that has been corrected, and that change can be found on page 96 of the updated report. As you can see on the screen, there was a 21-day public comment period that was held from May 22nd through June 12th. A public hearing was held on June 5th. On the slide, you'll see a list of residents that provided written comments on the plan, and then on the right-hand side, you'll see a list of our partners that provided written comments as well. We received a total of 8 public comments, and the responses to those comments can be found in the appendix. Next slide, please. Overall, the theme that we received as part of the public comment period was a call for stronger engagement and outreach. A few additional road safety audits in the town of Tewksbury were recommended. Education on roadway treatments and safety across the region. There was a great request for equitable enforcement, distracted driving. There were some concerns about securing funding and future funding for our region. In addition, there were a few aspects of the plan that the comments were calling for us to maybe look a little bit further into, and that was related to parking, mode shift, transit, as well as some related data analysis. Also, there was requests for maybe projects in areas that were not listed on the high injury network and high risk network. So based on the SS4A program, the projects have to be identified on the networks. So I just wanted to really reference that as an area we didn't dig deep into, but it was due to funding. And overall, the responses to the plan, as I mentioned, can be found in the appendix, but I wanted to highlight some of the key themes that we're able to pull out of the text directly. Next slide. So on this slide, you'll see an overarching statement that we created sort of as our mission pledge. I won't read all of the themes that are listed here on the screen, but these themes were created to help inform our policies and the strategies outlined in the final document. All the NPO members received a copy of a Vision Zero pledge letter yesterday. The pledge letter is a formal commitment by a governing body that's a requirement of the Regional Safety Action Plan. We are requesting the NPO members sign the pledge letter as a commitment to achieving Vision Zero. In summary, the letter reads that in support of this initiative, the NPO commits to championing the plan's recommendations for policy changes and will prioritize funding for essential design and physical infrastructure improvements. This is imperative for creating a thriving and resilient community where everyone can travel safely and confidently in our streets. Together, we commit to realizing this vision by 2050 and ensuring the Greater Lowell region sets a standard for safe and sustainable transportation practices statewide. We request the NPO vote to endorse our Greater Lowell Vision Zero Regional Safety Action Plan and take the pledge to reach zero serious injuries and fatalities from motor vehicle related crashes by 2050. Before I turn it over to Doug for the official vote, I just wanted to extend my appreciation to NMMPO staff, WSP, our consulting team, specifically Joel Anders, the project manager working at WSP, the Vision Zero Advisory Committee members, our 9 municipalities, including the town managers and town staff that have really worked to support the development of the plan. I'd also like to recognize Federal Highway, MassDOT for their support, and our sister agency, Merrimack Valley Planning Commission, for their contributions to the success of this plan. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jessica, and great job and well done on a successful plan. I believe you are maybe the first one to have it done. So well done on that as well. This is a great process. And we, of course, I think most MPOs do have safety planning grants too. So great to see all this work happening and advancing together. But are there any questions before we take a vote on this plan to endorse it? All right, if not, I will ask for a motion and second to endorse the Greater Lowell safety plan as presented by Jessica.
So moved.
Karen Pulio.
Second, Wayne Janess. Oh, okay.
All right, thank you both. Go ahead and call the roll, Kelly.
Derek Cravat,
Yes.
Timothy Parrott,
Yes.
Jane Wellman,
Yes.
Pat Roches,
Yes.
Karen Pulio,
Yes.
Wayne Janess,
Yes.
all in favor, it's unanimous vote.
All right, excellent. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Jessica, and great job. We'll move on to, yeah, congratulations. We'll move on to the Greater Lowell, or excuse me, the Title VI program update now for the Language Assistance Plan. Turn it over to Blake. Oh,
real quick before we do that, Derek, I just want to also just add again a big thank you to Jessica for shepherding this plan from the start to the end, organizing all the meetings with the Vision Zero Advisory Committee, and just kind of, just making sure we stay on track, on budget, on time, and she's done a lot of work in the development of this plan. I just want to acknowledge that here with, and thank you all for your vote to endorse the plan. And so we're moving forward with an intent to apply for additional funding to start implementation. So again, thank you all.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, looking forward to continuing that work and seeing projects that come out of it and all that good stuff. So we'll stay in touch on that, and I'm sure see future presentations here as well. So with that, we'll move on to the Title VI update. Blake.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone again. Blake Acton, Transit Planner. First, congratulations, Jessica, for the first plan. It's a very nice plan, by the way, so gotta mention that. The language assistance plan, not nearly as exciting as Vision Zero, but still important. And so what this is, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what it is and what we updated and sort of what is the big change that's happening with the language assistance plan, since we don't have a lot of time. So the language assistance plan, or LAP, it exists as a plan to provide language assistance to people who have limited English proficiency, or LEP. Need to cover some of our definitions here. And it exists a part of the Title VI program, which is a living document that we update regularly. Federal guidance has a minimum of every 3 years update the Title VI document. But also MassDOT, Office of Diversity and Civil Rights, provides us with feedback and guidance as well. That plan currently exists on our website. If you go to our website and go to the Civil Rights page, you can find the Title VI plan, and the current language assistance plan is in there at the bottom. So that's what we're updating, is that plan that exists as a part of the Title VI program. So why are we updating this? So the last time we updated the LAP was 4 years ago in 2020. And we've received some feedback from both our federal partners and from state partners that we need to make some updates to it. There's always room for improvement. They both have pointed out that our language analysis of data about the different languages in our region and how many people speak these languages and how many people who speak these languages have limited English proficiency, that data needs to be updated. So that was the primary focus of this update. Next slide, please. So like I said, the thing that we're updating the most is something as a part of the safe harbor provision is the focus here. So the previous analysis relied on census data that is quite out of date, and so there's a need to update that. And so the safe harbor provision, as defined by the U.S. Department of Transportation, is that our vital documents, our vital planning documents, must be provided, translated to people who to languages that qualify under the safe harbor provision, which is if the language has 5% or 1,000 individuals, whichever is fewer, of those speakers who report having LEP. And so in our region, the 1,000 persons is almost always less. So we're just going to focus on that to simplify the conversation here. Next slide, please. Can you move the?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I need to see the chart a little better. Thank you. So this chart serves as sort of the basis of the update. The most important data about the update is basically all right here. And so this is the most up-to-date data that we currently have from the American Community Survey or the US Census about the different populations of folks that speak non-English languages within the greater Lowell region. With Spanish being the most spoken language other than English. And the blue bar represents the total number of speakers and the percent of the population that speaks that language. And then the red bar represents the total population of those speakers who have limited English proficiency. So the US Census defines limited English proficiency as people that report speaking English less than very well on the US Census. So there are still probably many people within these categories that can speak English, but if it's anywhere below very well as self-reported, then they would be considered an LEP person. Next slide. Click, there we go. So here's our current safe harbor languages. So here are the 5 languages that we currently have qualified as safe harbor languages as a part of our language access plan. All of these populations are definitely over the 1,000 threshold, and that includes Spanish, Khmer, Portuguese, Chinese, and Vietnamese. Those languages are still carried over. They're still going to be safe harbor languages, so no changes with that. But what's really changing with the latest update is that we are going to be adding Arabic and Gujarati as new safe harbor languages to the list. So we will now have 7 safe harbor languages. So to determine why we're adding these, this chart explains sort of what's going on and with our logic of why we've decided to add these languages. Gujarati is the pink line that starts at 858. There's a lot of variability with Gujarati. It climbs above the 1,000 safe harbor threshold for 3 years and then moves back down. We're thinking maybe that variability could be because Gujarati is a native language from India, and there's a very large Indian international student population at UMass Lowell, so perhaps there's some variability with the population. But because of how close it is to the threshold, we decided to go ahead and add it since it was beyond that threshold for 3 years. And then with Arabic, you can see that in 2016, the data showed there were about 254 Arabic speakers with LEP in the region, and that has grown almost very consistently over the years to now it is 999 in 2021. So we figured that 1 person away from the threshold was close enough to include it in the safe harbor languages. So in the spirit of inclusion, we decided to go ahead and add these 2 languages to our list. I think that's all I have for the updates for this. Any questions or comments are welcome. And thank you.
Great, thank you, Blake. So just a reminder, so if they are safe harbor languages, that means you'll translate documents and such into those, or what's the sort of implication of it being safe harbor?
Yeah, so the most important implication is that if an individual came to us and said that they would like any of our documents in that language, we would need to provide that to them at no cost. That also means our executive summaries and various notices and things should include these languages as well, so that we can kind of be inclusive with these languages and let folks who speak them know that this is something that we are offering and that their language is a part of the list.
Got it. Great. Thanks, Blake. Any questions or comments? All right. Well, it's a great analysis. So I know this is an action item. So this is to approve the Title VI program update and this language assistance plan as part of that?
That is correct. Yeah.
All right. Great. Well, in that case, I will ask for a motion and second to approve this language assistance plan as presented.
So moved. Wayne Shamas.
Second, Jane.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead and call the roll.
Derek Cravat,
Yes.
Timothy Paris,
Yes. Jane
Wellman,
Yes.
Pat Fortress. Yes. Karen Coolio,
Yes.
Wayne Jeunesse.
Yes.
Unanimous
Okay.
motion.
All right. Thanks, everyone. And great job, Blake. Appreciate the update there. And we'll move on to the 2022 traffic volume report. I'll turn it over to Austin.
Thank you very much, everyone. My name is Austin Suarez Davis. I'm a transportation planner here at NMMPO. I put together this 2022 traffic volume report with a lot of help, especially with data collection from former employees at NMMPO. I joined last August, so much of this data was collected before I arrived here. and also a lot of help from Kelly, so thank you. So just a little bit of background here. Like I said, this data was collected in 2022. And so if this was sort of on schedule, we would have put this out a while ago, but now we're getting back on track. So that's great. And another thing is that having been here for the entirety of the 2023 collection season, I'm looking forward to providing a new 2023 traffic volume report that's upcoming this fall. And so I suppose we'll just jump into some overview of findings. Next slide, please. Here is just a look at regionally where much of our traffic counting locations or where we collected traffic volume data at throughout the region. Next slide, please. I wanted to just point to the fact that we have permanent, or MassDOT rather, has permanent counter stations throughout our region, and these are best for showing long-term trends. And so these will be added upon basically yearly. So just showing this to basically show what we found at most locations throughout the region is that traffic volume really dropped in 2020 and has been increasing gradually ever since then. Next slide, please. Now getting into average annual traffic growth rates. These are, we collect these from in 10-year periods. And so just some trends here is that Billerica saw the greatest growth rate over this past 10-year period from 2012 to 2022. Tewksbury seemed to be the biggest jump in 2022 compared to 2021, whereas Lowell, Dracut, Pepperell, and Dunstable remained fairly constant. And in contrast to that, Tingsboro and Westford saw reductions. And so this just shows, again, a map of where we saw the highest growth rates in 2022 from 2021. And some of these are along highways and others are sort of at the borders of our region. And next slide, please. And no one needs to actually look through this entire spreadsheet here. But suffice to say that we have been collecting heavy vehicular data for the past few years, trucks and heavy vehicles, that is buses, trucks, etc. And these in 2022 are roughly the same as those within the 2021 report. Specifically, Ledge Road and Chelmsford seem to be the area with our highest percentage of trucks in comparison to all other traffic. And within the report, we essentially know that there's a concrete facility in this vicinity. So that drives a lot of traffic in that particular area. And next slide, please. Actually, I guess that was my last one, but I think point being that now that I'm more familiar with this region, I'm looking forward to building on this data next year. If you would have told me there was a concrete facility in Chelmsford last year around this time, I would have not known what you were talking about. But next year, now that I'm more familiar with the region, I'll be able to add more nuance and information to the report looking forward, and happy to build on the data that all my predecessors came up with. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Austin. So just one quick question on the 10-year rates you looked at. How did you treat the 2020 data, just given sort of the obvious anomalies that year? Like, was that included in this? And we're still seeing mostly pretty significant growth in most towns.
Yeah, good question. I did what we did in 2021, which was to leave that data out. And
Yep.
the reason for that is that there were different collection guidelines in 2020 that were no longer applicable, and because the data was such an anomaly, it was left out in previous year's calculations. So I just continued with that same metric or calculation of it.
Got it. Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, that's what we do too now. It's like like you said, it's such an anomaly that it messes up all the trends. So that just was curious, but that makes
So
sense.
Derek,
Yeah. Oh yeah, go ahead.
just for
Yeah.
history's sake, when COVID hit, basically traffic counting stopped for months. And when it came back, I believe it was June of that year, it wasn't a full program. It was emergency locations, basically where trucks were going. And it was, I think we picked maybe 15 locations and we counted them on like a monthly basis. So it really was a completely different traffic counting season from every other season that's been around. So it was really not really, you couldn't really compare it. So I understand why they would leave it out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, even if you wanted to, certainly extenuating circumstances then. Cool. All right. Any other questions on the traffic count data?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm interested in this. This is great that one of these Tewksbury locations on Shawshene Street is right down the street from my house. It's just a few houses away. So that's fascinating to see that nearly 20% of our trucks then were truck traffic. Traffic then was truck traffic. That's fascinating. So I'd like to dig into this later. But what do you attribute the jump in Tewksbury from 2 slides or 1 slide back from this? That one.
Yeah, good question. I think this falls into the category of, I haven't lived here long enough to know what business. What I would imagine is that there has to be some sort of development, either residential or commercial, in this area to lead to this jump. But in previous years' reports, because folks had worked here for long enough, they kind of were more familiar with the development arena in our region, that they could point to certain development trends. So yeah, I wish I could provide a better answer than that, but that's my
Yeah, I think the other factor that would be interesting to explore at some point is to understand how much of this traffic is actually through traffic. So it's maybe people who are coming, you know, and more people need to move to New Hampshire and elsewhere. Are they is that traffic driving through our communities?
Right.
To get somewhere versus is it, you know, locally based?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was wondering, is some of this like 495 traffic, or is it, you know, local roads? So yeah, I'm interested in figuring that out as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. Derek,
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
No,
No,
go ahead.
I was also going to say that as I'm also now more familiar with our TIP projects and the sort of projects that are going to be constructed or programmed over the next few years, that also helps with understanding how much traffic might be disrupted in certain areas versus if a project is completed, maybe an area has less congestion. So the point being, now that I'm more familiar with even other aspects of my work that are not traffic volume, it'll help with this report in future years.
Okay. Thanks, Austin. Derek?
Yeah, Austin ultimately said what I was about to, which is, as you have TIP projects programmed in your region, that could affect, even temporarily, people's mobility patterns in your region. For example, you had project 608297 resurfacing and sidewalk reconstruction on Route 38 in Tewksbury during 2022. That could have possibly affected the location where traffic counts were collected.
Okay.
Never mind other projects that might be happening on 495, on 93, on Route 3, etc., across the region. So
Yeah, and there is a project also on 133 there too. I think that was a DOT project. So yeah, that makes sense. That's interesting. So we just get beaten up all the time with any sort of development project about, you know, what's the traffic going to be? And so having a sense of how those metrics are impacted is useful. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Other questions? All right.
Wait, I have a quick
go ahead.
question.
Yeah.
Austin, can you explain the bar chart, those numbers, are those percents? And how would you interpret the percent? Is that like 71% or something?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So essentially what we do is we will collect the annual growth rate, and that's just what the current traffic is versus the previous year. And that comes up with a percentage. And then those percentages over the course of a 10-year period are then averaged. So what we're seeing is that if there's a jump, let's say in Tewksbury, and some of this data is within the report as well, but it's sort of in those spreadsheets at the very end. But let's say if in Tewksbury it goes from 0.44 to 0.62, what we might be able to gather from that is that in 2022, the growth rate from 2020 or 21 to 22 was significant enough that it changed the 10-year annual average. So, you know, whereas on average, it might be closer to, you know, a 50% year over year or what have you, or 5% year over year. I'm just kind of, you know, riffing here. If the rate jumps from that one counter now received a 100% increase in the last year, then that'll shift that average, but in the 10-year period to seem much more significant. Then going back to the reason why it's important to collect this data over time is that over time these should level out, I suppose, or normalize over time. Thank you. Yep.
Thanks, Austin. All right. Well, with that, we can move on to other business. Is there any other business for the MPO today? All right.
Derek, just a reminder, we have decided not to hold the August MPO meeting. So we will see you all again in September unless something extremely urgent arises. And so I'll be talking with you and Miranda if anything comes up, but otherwise we'll see you in September.
All right, good to know. Thanks, Kelly. We will plan on that then. Any other business? If not, I will ask for a motion and second to adjourn.
So moved, Jane.
Second, Wayne.
All right, thank you both. Without objection, we are adjourned. So thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the summer, and we will see you back here likely in September.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.